Hello and welcome. I am Ben the Best 5 and I am coming at you with yet another Kerbal Space Program video. Now, for this mission we will in fact be going to Minmus. Sort of. We won't be landing on it yet. We in fact have a contract out to perform a flyby of the mint-coloured moon. Now, as you can see, we are using an expendable rocket again, just simply because it is substantially cheaper. It's the cheapest method of launch that we have, like to date at this particular moment in the save, so we're going to be using it probably, hopefully, quite a bit, just to help save those funds for perhaps something big that we might need to do later on. And yeah, also capture we have is fairly similar to the rocket which we used to rendezvous with our space station core that we sent up. However, the service module on it is in fact more akin to the kind which were used for Mun landings. And this is just because, you know, we'll probably need a little bit more distance on it than perhaps the distance offered by the service module used on the rendezvous variant of the capsule. So I just kind of put the two together and then gave them a cheap rocket booster system which can be used to help send them to orbit. Now, we're going to be doing a couple of things with this mission. Primarily, yes, we'll be doing a flyby of Minmus, which is the main reason why we are doing this mission. However, a secondary objective will be to make sure that we have got a capsule and to see just how much extra fuel, or delta V, more to the point, a capsule like this would require if we are going to go to Minmus. Yeah. Minmus also has a couple of challenges which you don't see when going to other moons, places such as the Mun. Namely, Minmus itself is an inclined orbit, meaning that once you are in an equatorial Kerbin orbit, you then have to incline your orbit so that it's different, so that you are matching the orbit of Minmus instead of an equatorial orbit around Kerbin. Other things which can make getting to Minmus a bit more difficult is that it has a relatively small sphere of influence in comparison to somewhere like the Mun, which means that getting an intersect can be, you know, challenging sometimes because it's quite small. You can just fly straight past it and miss its field of influence, so that can make it, you know, more difficult to perhaps land on. Sorry, to get to and rendezvous with. However, it does have the small advantage, well actually it's quite a big advantage, that it's a lot easier to land on, even though it's harder to get to and to rendezvous with, because it has a smaller field of gravity. And because it has a smaller field of gravity, it means that crafts fall down towards it a lot slower, which means that you in fact need to use less fuel to counteract the gravity of the moon, which means landing on it is a lot easier and can use a lot less delta V, and also requires less precision with burns, etc, etc, etc. So, as you can see, we're in fact off at, or almost a 6-degree offset to Minmus, and that is because Minmus is not equatorial. It's in fact at that same inclination as, because it's inclined compared to Kerbin. You'll in fact have to set up a maneuver node at an ascending or descending node, doesn't really matter which one too much, in order to equal out your the difference between the so basically when you come to an ascending node or a descending node and you burn either normal or anti-normal, which will get you on the same inclination as Minmus from an equatorial Kerbin orbital inclination, and then you also want to burn, if possible, you want to perform your prograde burn at the intersect node, just because if you combine your prograde and normal burns, it in fact increases the efficiency of the normal or anti-normal burns, which means that you save fuel. Because there are two ways that you can make a normal or anti-normal burn more efficient. You either perform a prograde or retrograde burn alongside it, or you perform it as far away from apoapsis as possible. As far away from periapsis, as close to the apoapsis as possible. Now, initially we went out, and when I was creating my maneuver node, I actually went out prograde first to see if I could actually get a rather close encounter, which I could. So because of that, I then combined my inclination change burn with the burn which is increasing our apoapsis to the same height as Minmus, because that increases efficiency. If I couldn't do this, however, instead of performing my inclination burn alongside, like I am doing here, I would in fact increase my my apoapsis first, and then perform the burn to normalize our, well, not normalize, bring our inclination to the same as Minmus after that. As you can see, it can be quite difficult to get an encounter with Minmus just because it is so tiny. However, if we use some very precise burns here, see, we can in fact get ourselves a Minmus encounter with a nice periapsis of 32 kilometers, which is nice and safe, and means that we should not be crashing into any of its mountains. Generally speaking, with Minmus, it's safe to get to a height of about 5 kilometers, and then, however, if you drop below 5 kilometers, it's Alright, so it appears that the indicator was in fact showing me for an orbit's time instead of the orbit I was going for, which means we will in fact miss Minmus, and it means that we would have hit it in the next orbit. However, we're in fact going to hit the sphere of influence of the Mun, which will in fact alter our orbit slightly, and mean that we miss Minmus in this orbit, which means that we will probably have to perform another burn to bring our Minmus encounter back. Thank you, Mun. Very helpful. So it looks like the main thing that this Mun encounter has messed with is our inclination, because it's now 4 degrees off. And it's also given us a large prograde boost, which is causing us to in fact leave Kerbin's sphere of influence. So I'm going to try and drag that down and counteract it. I don't know why Kerbin showed this. The Kerbal Space Program decided to show me what would happen in 2 orbits time instead of 1 orbit's time, but oh well. It did, so I guess we'll have to deal with it now. And we've now brought ourselves to another maneuver which will give us an encounter of Minmus. So we can in fact move to our new maneuver node and correct our burn after our little Mun adventure. And this is just a demonstration, or not a demonstration, an accidental demonstration we'll call it, to show that, you know, sometimes the unexpected can happen in a mission, so always prepare, you know, pack a little bit of Delta V, or prepare, you know, just in case something goes wrong. And we in fact now have a Minmus periapsis, which is great because it means that we are going to perform a Minmus flyby. In fact, we'll perform a second Minmus flyby, because as soon as we leave Minmus' sphere of influence, we will in fact come back around on a parabolic trajectory and re-enter Minmus' sphere of influence. So yes, here we are in Minmus' sphere of influence, which is exactly where we need to be to complete our mission. And here we are also in Minmus' space, the space around Minmus, which means we can perform some very, very useful science and boost the amount of science we have when we come back, which we can use to unlock more parts, obviously. We are in fact now sending out a scientist Kerbal, specifically Bob the Brave, to collect our data from our experiments in our experiments bay, just simply because when we perform our reentry, those science pieces will be, well, destroyed. However, we still want to collect the data because we still want to bring the science home to Kerbin to unlock some more parts. So that's why we are in fact sending a Kerbal out to go and get the science. So here our Kerbals are, you know, performing flyby 1 of Minmus. It's now completed. And we are going to loop back around and perform Minmus flyby 2. Oh no, we're not, that's in an orbit's time. Okay. Well, to avoid that, we could in fact burn retrograde right here and pull our periapsis into Kerbin's atmosphere to bring us back home and to avoid a second unnecessary Minmus flyby. Alright, now we have a Mun gravity assist, which, well, given Kerbal Space Program's current state, could be at any stage, so I'd rather avoid that, so I'm going to burn further retrograde. Excellent, we are now avoiding the Mun, and we are going to come back to Kerbin. Rather fast, I must add. Which can, well, not always necessarily be a good thing, because the faster the re-entry, the more force caused by friction, which means the hotter you're going to get from re-entry, which means the more likely stuff is to go boom. So we are going to take this re-entry nice and slowly, and we are going to make sure that we have jettisoned everything in a direction so that they cannot fly back at us and crash. And we are going to also make sure that before we are anywhere near hitting the atmosphere, we are facing retrograde so that we are not at risk of burning up the capsule with our Kerbals inside of it. Oh no. Okay, we have just enough time to face retrograde, and let our heat shield take the abuse, while our service module is successfully jettisoned away from the craft. Very close thing, I in fact pressed the wrong time warp button, which was nearly catastrophic. Nearly being the keyword here, but it turned out we were fine, which is great. And look at this, we're going to in fact land just off the surface, just off the shore from the Kerbal Space Center. Isn't that nice? So I could tell you I planned it like that, but I really didn't. In fact, most of this mission was unplanned, you know. The indicator giving me a weird reading about where Minmus would be when I got my encounter. You know, an unexpected Mun encounter that was, you know, unexpected. Yeah. But anyway, we are in fact going to lower our Kerbals back down to the ground in their rather wonky, but oh well, it doesn't matter, capsule. And then we can recover them and bring our science back for some analysis in our laboratories. And there we go, a splashdown. Very, very nice. So yes, we have gained a significant amount of science, enough to probably unlock one module. Of course we get much more from a Minmus landing, however, we haven't received a contract to do that yet. Yeah. So yeah, this has more or less been a tutorial on what to do when things don't go right, how to adapt, you know, how to think on your feet, and how to still successfully complete the mission and bring the Kerbals back alive and in one piece. Also how to get to Minmus, that was also a part of it, I should probably mention. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you like the video, you know, my content, you know, my voice, whatever you come here to watch the videos for, I guess, please do leave a like if you want to see more of this stuff, then subscribe, because that's the easiest way to find me. Other than that, thank you for watching and have a great day.